Strangest trade demands in NBA history. Not every NBA player is happy with where they end up. Many are happy with their teams, but grow sour over time. And some NBA players get fed up with their teams and demand trades. Some of the details can be quite strange. Dwight Howard. The Orlando Magic were a lucky organization to land Dwight Howard, and to have him in his formative years and in the beginning of his prime. The Magic were able to determine the caliber player Howard was, and build a team around him accordingly. The All-Star led his team through a difficult Eastern Conference playoffs and into the finals in 2009. They ultimately lost to the Lakers, but clearly had an incredible team. They lost to the stacked Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals the following year, and had a first-round exit in next year's playoffs. Some would view this as a decline, but in reality, the Magic were still very much in the mix, competing throughout the playoffs with a core that was just in the finals. Howard quickly became fed up, even though the team was still having some success. Reportedly, he felt that he should be able to help make decisions when it came to personnel, players, etc. Apparently, Howard viewed himself not only as the starting center, but also as the general manager. When the team repeatedly made moves Howard did not agree with, he demanded to be traded from the Magic. Yes, the Magic that were just in the finals 2 years prior, and just barely missed a second consecutive finals appearance the year before. Even with such success as that, Howard wanted out. He felt he would have a better chance elsewhere. After many years of putting on the team jerseys of several other cities, he still hasn't found that success. Carmelo Anthony. With professional bucket getter Carmelo Anthony, this was a bit of a strange situation. Technically, he didn't demand a trade, but he made it very clear he wasn't going to re-sign with the Nuggets at the end of his contract. This claim basically forced the team to trade him, so they wouldn't lose him for nothing. Now, you may say, well, Carmelo wanted out of Denver. Why shouldn't he want to leave and play wherever he desires? He is that good. And you would be right. But the circumstances on this one are puzzling. In the 2009 playoffs, Melo's Nuggets took the Kobe Bryant-led Lakers to 6 games in the Western Conference Finals. They did lose that series, but wow, were they close to a finals appearance. And in the 2010 playoffs, the Nuggets did lose in 6 games in the first round to the Jazz. But this was still clearly a great Nuggets team. A great team that was built around All-Star Melo. They were built to win, and were very close. It was in the 2010-2011 season that the Melo trade occurred. This means just 2 years prior, Melo was a couple wins away from making the finals, and the Denver team constructed to work with his skill set was amazing. Melo was in his prime, and the team that was repeatedly making the finals from the West at that time was the Lakers. Kobe was still good, of course, but he was getting older. A move to New York would mean to compete in the LeBron is in his prime Eastern Conference. It seemed very realistic to imagine the Nuggets being able to overcome an aging Kobe and the other competition out west. Even that year that Melo was traded, his former Nuggets team still gave the Westbrook-Durant-Harden Thunder a tough 5-game matchup in the first round of the playoffs. A Melo-less Nuggets team that had only one loss to that OKC juggernaut decided by more than 4 points. Maybe Melo really wanted to go play in New York. Maybe it was always a dream of his. But wouldn't the dream of winning a championship outweigh that? And wasn't he actually getting so close to a finals appearance while in his prime in Denver? Speculation swirled about how Melo was more interested in playing closer to home and making more money. Fair. You always gotta look out for yourself. But his contract with the Knicks was a 5-year deal, worth $124 million, which was $5 million less than the allowed maximum. Carmelo left them extra money to allow the franchise flexibility to pursue free agents, which sounds more like a, I want this team to be good, so here's some extra money move. So it does feel like championship aspirations were still in Melo's heart, but were they more feasible in the East? And if it was dedication and mutual loyalty that you thought were the remaining factors to hold on with this deal, Melo demanded an early termination clause after the 4th year, and a no-trade clause. Talk about starting a relationship off with major trust issues. One last thing to note. Had Melo managed to win a championship, he would have been one of only 8 players in history to have won an NBA championship, an NCAA championship, and a gold medal at the Olympics. He would have been keeping company with the likes of Bill Russell, Michael Jordan, and Magic Johnson. But the strange push to leave Denver squashed that dream, as the Big Apple never really built a team around him as good as the Mile High City did. Kyrie Irving. The city of Cleveland will forever be grateful to Kyrie Irving, and the magic he, LeBron James, Kevin Love and crew cast over their extravagant NBA Finals win in 2016. The 2016 NBA Finals win was sandwiched by 2 other Finals appearances that did not result in wins. But clearly, the Cavaliers were in good shape if they made it to 3 straight Finals. All seemed to be going great. And then, Kyrie demanded a trade. a trade from his title contending team. He had a list of a few teams he would like to play for, and wanted the Cavs to help him land in one of those spots. Kyrie was tired of being in LeBron's shadow, and wanted to play on a team where he was a bigger focal point. For starters, being the number 2 option on a team that consistently is making the finals is a pretty big focal point. But Kyrie wanted something bigger than that. Apparently, he would rather be the head guy on another team. Strangely, one of his requests was to go to Chicago to play with Jimmy Butler and the Bulls. What's so strange about this one is that, though Butler doesn't cast as big of a shadow as LeBron, there definitely would have been a sizable shadow Kyrie would have to navigate in Chicago. Kyrie would not step into Chicago and definitely be the number 1 guy, when Butler is already there. And though a Butler-Kyrie duo would be great, would it have been better than a LeBron-Kyrie-Love trio? Probably not. And if requesting a trade away from your title contending team into one of a handful of teams you have shortlisted wasn't odd enough for you, Kyrie even threatened to have surgery if the Cavaliers wouldn't trade him. Granted, it was a surgery he could use, it didn't appear to be mandatory, since he had the option of electing to do it or not. That's just about one of the strangest threats you could hear. Kawhi Leonard. Here is a trade situation that was so loud in the public space, and ironically centered around Kawhi Leonard, the quietest NBA star of all time. The stoic star silently demanded a trade from the San Antonio Spurs, the only team he had played for, a team with which he went to the finals in both his 2nd and 3rd year, the latter finals resulting in a win and a finals MVP for Kawhi. And the team continued to have playoff success. When your coach is Greg Popovich, that's something you come to expect. So why would Kawhi want out of San Antonio? He grew uncomfortable with the organization, especially after what he deemed as a mishandling of his injury rehab. He also was requesting some specific teams for him to be traded to. Los Angeles teams were at the top of the list, seeing as how he's a Southern California native. It had the strange appearance of a player wanting out of a terrific team, but also had a somewhat stubborn coach and organization that wouldn't send Kawhi to whatever city he pointed out on a map. They were going to do what was best for them, so the trade demand appeared even stranger, knowing Kawhi would not get what he wanted. And then what happened? Kawhi was sent to Toronto, of all places. He brought them to the promised land. They won a championship. And then in free agency, Kawhi left to a team in Los Angeles, like he wanted all along, and got to team up with fellow superstar Paul George, and an amazing cast in the Clippers. Started out as a strange trade demand, and then worked out better than perfect for Kawhi. What does this guy know about the workings of the universe that we don't? Shaquille O'Neal. This is a trade demand that significantly stands out in NBA history. Shaquille O'Neal. It is no question that in his prime, Shaq dominated the paint like no other. His domination of the paint in his era dominates all other eras' paint dominators. There was nothing you could do with him, offense or defense. His start with the Magic went fairly well. In his 3rd year in the league, his squad managed to make the finals, but didn't have enough to get over the hump. Shaq needed to team up with someone electric. In the 1996-1997 season, Shaq had a new home, the purple and gold of the LA Lakers. He was paired up alongside Kobe Bryant, and you probably have a good idea what happened. Relatively instant success. Sure, the two butted heads, but they started making deep playoff runs. By their 4th year together, they won a championship. Next year, another championship. The year after that, are you familiar with the term three-peat? This duo was nearly unstoppable. The next year, the 2002-2003 season, they didn't make it to the finals. But the year after that, the 2003-2004 season, they made it to the finals. However, they lost to the Detroit Pistons in that finals appearance. It became very public that Shaq and Kobe were not getting along. Shaq did not like Kobe's high-volume shot-taking approach to the game. He wanted more touches down low. He wanted more balance. And even though they won 3 in a row and went to 4 finals in a span of 5 years, Shaq was done. Oh, what could have been if Shaq stayed. Some minor tweaking, and perhaps a couples counseling session or two, and that duo could have won multiple rings. It is not an overstatement by any means. Shaq moved on to Miami, where he did win one more ring with a more pass-friendly guard named Dwayne Wade. But couldn't he have won more with Kobe and the brilliant Phil Jackson? Of course he could have. The Lakers even managed to win a couple more without Shaq Diesel. With him, the Lakers probably would have surpassed the Celtics as the winningest NBA franchise in history, easily. Sometimes, it isn't all about the championships. Sometimes it is about happiness, and frankly, it is about money at times as well. These players have a limited window in their lifetimes to make some cash, and they need to set themselves up and set their families up for a long time. So if there was a pay increase, you could totally understand it. But when Shaq moved to Miami, he was taking less money than he was getting in LA, so the money wasn't the factor. Sometimes, too many alpha males butting heads just cannot be overcome by any amount of talking from cooler heads. Any amount of money, any amount of championships. Alphas need betas, not more alphas. But if Shaq could have checked his ego just a little bit, he could have gone down as an even more decorated big man. 4 championships is not nothing, but neither is 6 or 7 championships. Final thoughts. Thanks for watching this UpNext Sports video. Don't forget to like this video, and also subscribe to the channel. And leave us a comment if you think we left out some strange trade demands. And join us for the next video for some more basketball fun.